Hi everyone, and welcome to Leonora AstroTarot. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is the first pick a card reading I'm posting to this channel, so I'm absolutely delighted that you're stopping by. I am new to YouTube, but I have been reading tarot for around 10 years now. I am also an astrologer, so I'll be talking quite a bit on here about astrology. If you are interested in a reading from me, you can see some of what I offer below in the description box. I offer both basic beginner style readings if you're new to astrology, if you're unfamiliar with your chart, and more advanced sort of detailed readings if you already know a little bit about astrology and about your chart. I also offer forecasts for your current and upcoming transit, so that's like your personal energetic weather, your personal horoscope, so you can see everything down below. Please get in touch if you're interested and would like to have more information about that at leonora.astrotarot@gmail.com. Okay, so today we're going to start off with a feel-good pick a card reading. Why are people drawn to you? What do other people find alluring and attractive about you? It's obviously a general reading, so you know the drill. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Some details may be meant for other people. There are 3 groups today. So number 1 is pink tourmaline, number 2 is the amethyst, and number 3 is the labradorite. Just let your eye draw you to a particular pile. I usually find when I'm watching these readings that my focus will automatically go to a group, and that usually is the one. You should trust your initial gut instinct. But this reading is timeless, so you may return at another time and be drawn to another pile. You may also be drawn to more than one. In that case, there's probably different messages and different piles for you, so just trust your instinct on that. If you do enjoy this reading, please do like, subscribe, click the notification bell, comment below, all the usual stuff. All of those little things really help to grow a new channel, so I really appreciate these things. Yeah, and leave me comments about the kind of readings you'd like to see on here. I really welcome your feedback as well. So again, thanks for stopping by, and I will see you in your reading. Okay, so hello, pile 1. You picked the pink tourmaline. So this is your why are people drawn to you reading. Let's see which cards you got. We have the raven, the owl, the high priestess, the 7 of embers, the 8 of embers. I believe these are the wands in the traditional deck, the 4 of cups, and the 6 of pentacles. Okay, so what a way to start off here with the high priestess. What do people find alluring about you, pile 1? Well, you are highly intuitive. You see things that other people do not see. I think people may feel as soon as they meet you that there's something a little bit different about you. They may find that you see deeper into them than the average person. They may feel as if you're looking right into their soul. I think you perhaps dance to the beat of your own drum. There's something very different and unique and unexpected about the way you dress, for sure, but something about your aura and your general demeanor is very self-assured, I would say. But you're very interested in people, I think, pile 1. I think when you engage with someone, you give them your full attention and you're genuinely interested, and I think people can really feel that about you. People may look to you for guidance, for wisdom, no matter your age. I think you certainly give off the impression of having lived, you know, quite a life, of being an old soul. You can pick up on things without being told explicitly, and I think in your case, pile 1, this is very reassuring. In the cases of other people, this might be slightly intimidating. I think some people may find you slightly intimidated, especially if they're not someone that's especially in tune with themselves. They may find your kind of razor sharp focus to be a little bit too much. But I think most people, pile 1, really find you to be a very uniquely insightful sort of person and want to be close to you. I think that you are not necessarily that open with everyone, and that, I think, adds to your general mystique and mysteriousness, that people want to know more. You don't necessarily give everything away. I think you most likely have a select group of friends that you might trust, but you keep things close to your chest, pile 1. So it does leave people with a lot of questions about you. So what is alluring about you is a lot. You're very alluring, pile 1. I feel like at a party in a group of people, I think you're someone that naturally draws people's eyes in. People want to know what you're up to, what you're thinking, what are you drinking, what are you listening to. You're that kind of person. And I think everybody is satisfied and, perhaps privately longing to have a little bit of one-on-one time for you. If, when it comes to acquaintances, it may be that, there is something a little bit unknowable about you, pile 1. There are people that perhaps people are never quite sure necessarily whether they are your close friend. You always sort of leave them wanting more. There's something quite withholding about you. People have a lot of questions about you that you're not necessarily willing to give up. You do tend to keep your cards close to your chest, pile 1, but I think you certainly have a lot of admirers. Look at this. We have the raven, the wise woman. So, ravens are very mysterious birds and very sort of mythic. There's a legend in England around the ravens in the towers of London. So there's ravens there in the garden. Apparently, if the ravens fly, the crown or the empire will fall. Maybe not such a bad thing, but for the sake of folklore, the raven is a creature that has a lot of power, but again, a mysterious creature. I think you're somebody, pile 1, that you may travel quite a bit. You may kind of, maybe not this year, but generally, pile 1, you may find yourself sort of changing location quite a bit in the past. You're there, you're not. And that also adds to your allure. People are very curious about where you're going and what you're doing there. But there's a sense of purpose to you, that perhaps you know things that others don't. I think that you're quite worldly and also adaptable. The owl and the raven here as your spirit animals. The owl, of course, is also a bird that is associated with wisdom and foresight. The owl is, of course, a nocturnal bird. I do think, like I said, some people might feel a little intimidated by you, pile 1. I think those that are people that perhaps are not such, perhaps not so on good terms with themselves, the kind of people that perhaps haven't observed some of their own shadow. And I think sometimes you can bring out people's insecurities. There's something about you perhaps that people can sense that you have done a lot of inner work, personal exploration. You may make very strong eye contact with people, pile 1, and yes, some people might find this alluring. and feel very seen by you, but others might be quite intimidated. I think also there is a sense of, there is a bit of a lone wolf vibe coming from this pile, in that you sort of you're definitely not one to follow the crowd or conform to what other people are doing. I think people are very curious how you get information, pile one. Like, how do you know the things that you know? It's as if you're reading different books, you're listening to different podcasts, how do you come across this? There's such a heavy sense of mystery around you, and also where you are and what you're doing. Like the darkness on these cards around these birds in flight. You're going places and people want to know where you're going. This deck is gorgeous. Cosma Visions, it's called. The artwork, I think it's by James E. Reed, but it's the Seven of Embers. In the traditional deck, that would be the Seven of Wands. So this is, you're a fighter, pile one. You're somebody that perseveres through setbacks. You're somebody that will keep going, will face adversity with, a ballsiness. Like you are going to go for what you want. I think people are a bit nervous at times in disagreeing with you. I think, again, that intimidation factor is coming through again. But I think intellectually, there's a book here. Again, the sense that you have information that other people don't have. People can be a little bit intimidated by sort of going head to head with you in conversation. They want to know what you know. They want to talk to you. They want that kind of one-on-one audience with you. But at the same time, I think some people might not be sure if they're up to the job at times, because you are a powerful person, but one, like, you are a force to be reckoned with, and not everyone feels like they're up to that job. You may be quite intellectual, you may be quite book smart, as well as being more intuitive, and you have both spiritual knowledge and more kind of everyday knowledge too. So that combination for people, I think, can be quite intimidating, but I think it's inspiring too. I think you inspire people to up their game. So, wow, Pawan. People want to improve themselves by encountering you. They want to know more too. I think that's extremely impressive. The Eight of Embers, this is the Eight of Wands in the traditional deck. I'm getting here a real, yes, there's motion with this card, and we've seen that with these two bird totem animals that are coming through in your read, but there's something very sparkly about this, the way these sparks are flying. I think a lot of people may have crushes on you. There's a lot of, you stir up a lot of passion for the men, the women, whoever it is that that you encounter. I think, yeah, I'm getting a lot of sparkiness, so there's something very sexually alluring about you too, Paul One. A lot of people that you might not think of perhaps have attractions to you, perhaps quite intense sexual fantasies, attractions about you. I get the sense that perhaps you're quite oblivious to this. You may not spend a lot of time wondering about that kind of thing, but you do stir up quite a lot of emotion in others. You know, that kind of, when we use the word crush, I guess the idea of a crush is someone being quite remote and out of touch to you, someone you want to be, that this is perhaps a plausible option, someone that you don't know that well, that kind of projection that people do. I think a lot of people perhaps do that to you, Part 1, which you may or may not know. A lot of people sort of fantasize about you and what it might be like to be up close and personal. The Six of Pentacles. again, this woman, gender of course doesn't matter, but she has a frog and a cat on her lap, if you see here, pile 1. You may be a big animal person, you may be a cat person, you may have a cat, but I think you have a strong sort of intuitive, telepathic bond with animals. Sometimes, and with nature in general, that other people perhaps don't get and don't understand, but envy. There's a sense that you're connected to things in a way that other people perhaps wish they were. And again, there's questions people have about this, is how can I cultivate this in myself, these things that pile 1 has, the things they do. You may not know this, but you may inspire other people to do certain things that you do. Some of you may be into just sort of nature sports, hiking, whatever it is, swimming, and you may have inspired other people to sort of take on hobbies that you do because there's something about you and the way that you convey your own experience that just ignites, that I want to have something, some of what she's having, sort of she or he, that kind of feeling in other people. So you may have sort of changed other people's lives in ways that you haven't known about. I get the sense that you have quite a lot of admirers, acquaintances, people that you know, people you're more familiar with, but further afield, people that you would never occur to you, quite interested in you and what you're doing, and are quite inspired to change their lives by you, which is pretty impressive. Pile 1, it's pretty impressive indeed. 4 of Cups. I have the sense, pile 1 again, though there is a big lone wolf energy that's coming through, and also just a strong independent mind, an independent thinker. You're also very, you go your own way. As I said, you're not really one to follow the crowd, but I think a lot of people would like to be a part of that crowd. I think sometimes people that have come closer to you and that you've let more into your inner orbit, the way this thread is between these women in the card, again, gender doesn't matter. I think there are people that do want to reconnect with you, pile 1. People that you have perhaps been close to in the past, and that thread might have been broken at some point, but it's perhaps you've lost touch with people, but that thread is deeper. I think if you look at this, there are still people, and this may not even be, if there are people that you were close to that have now passed away, that are no longer in your life. I think that thread is much deeper than you know. You may be very, very connected to your intuition. We've seen this with the High Priestess, pile 1. And I think there's some sirens going on at the moment. Sorry about that, pile 1. Just wait for that to calm down if you can hear it. I think they're as intuitive as you are, and as in tune as you are with your inner wisdom, your inner sense, your inner compass. I think that there is more. There is more. This card has sort of taken me a bit off the why other people drawn to you question, but I think you are more supported than you know. I think there is more untapped energy, and whether you call them spirit guides, angels, whatever it is, people that you have connections to that have passed on, that are very much around you. The way the people in this card, their eyes are closed. overall, Pile 1, there's this sense of you are much more connected to people than you realize, even though you are this very much independent soul. You affect others much more than you may be aware of, and as much depth as you do have and that people do perceive in you, I think there's still you have further to delve. I think feeling more connected to people may be something that you want to cultivate. We've all been in this sort of imposed state of self-isolation for a period of time, and you may be better at that than most, Pile 1. But I think as we, the world is sort of reopening a bit, we're able to do more of the normal stuff, socializing, meeting new people. You may find that a lot of people sort of gravitating towards you, and a lot of people wanting to reconnect. You may not always be able to pick up on this, though, Pile 1. Whatever your interests, your passions are, and I think you're quite focused on those things. Sometimes I think there's a single-mindedness that comes with that. You're very determined to achieve what you want to do, but sometimes you may not see things in your peripheral. And I have the sense that can be people in your peripheral that perhaps wanting to come closer to you. So that may be something to bear in mind, Pile 1. This is a very interesting pile and a very interesting group of people you all are. Yeah, I hope that was helpful, guys. Very, very interesting, magnetic, soulful vibe I'm getting from this group. Yeah, do leave a comment down below if this resonates with you. I'd love to hear from you guys. But thanks for stopping by today. Okay, Pile 2, welcome to your reading. Forgive me as I figure out my, as I said, I'm new to YouTube, so forgive me as I figure out my frame. I'm sure I'll get the hang of things. So you are group 2, you are the Amethyst today. Let's see which cards you have. Okay, so the fox, the cat, the 7 of Cups, the maze, the 10 of Lotuses, 7 of Cups, again, interesting, and the 10 of Pentacles. Okay, so Pile 2. Why are people drawn to you? What do other people find attractive, alluring about you? So your totem animals are the cat and the fox. So the cat, this black cat here, you may well be a cat person, Pile 2, sorry, a lot of us are, I definitely am. Or you may feel particularly, a particular kinship with sort of feline things. You are in a cat. You are not one to beat around the bush, Pile 2, and you are not one to bend for other people. You're very highly independent and spirited, and you will go your own way. You will not ask or wait for permission from others to be who you really are. Quite likely a very eloquent and persuasive speaker. People like to hear you talk, Pile 2. They're very interested in your take on things. You tend to be a very unique thinker. And this sparks people's curiosity, it sparks their intellect. I have the sense, Pile 2, that you're you're a great conversational partner, great at sparring, great at debate, and things like that. You may often find yourself to be the center of attention in groups, at a dinner party, something like that. I think you're a very well-informed person, Pile 2. But there's this, if you look at the glow coming off this, some of you might have very, very blue eyes like this cat does, but if you look at this sunlight, I mean, this cat is just beaming. So you may be a little bit of a social butterfly, even if you consider yourself more introverted when you are around people. you can really light up. And I think that in turn can make other people feel really good, feel really energized when your focus is on them, pile 2. So the fox, again, this orange is coming through to me, this orange sun. So this reminds me of the sacral chakra. So this is all about passion and creativity. You may be an artist of some kind. You may just be very active in pursuing your goals. Again, not to say that some of you guys that pick pile 2 aren't more introverted, more inner focused. I think a lot of you do like people. You do like social interaction. You probably found the last year pretty tough, pile 2, if that's you. But I think you're really kind of activated in the company of other people. And I get the sense that some of you are, whatever your passion is, your creativity, it requires group work, teamwork to kind of bring it together. And I think you're very good at that. You're very good at bringing people together as a kind of connecting force, perhaps in a group of people, for instance, pile 2. Let's say you work as a part of a sort of collective. You may be, if someone's coming in from the outside is interested in what you're doing, you may be that go-to person. There's something about you that is approachable, but you're very passionate. You're very kind of dynamic is the word. Some of you may be Geminis. I'm getting a bit of a Gemini vibe from this. There's something dynamic, something very approachable, and you're easy to talk to. I think you're quite sharp. Your intellect can be slightly intimidating for some people, but you are very you're very approachable. There's a huge warmth that comes off you, pile 2, that makes it very easy for people to be around you and to come into your orbit, which is a place that I think a lot of people want to be. Interesting, of course, that the 7 of Cups has come up here twice. You can see here on this card there's these doorways. I think, pile 2, you may be someone that's sort of, I'm getting this sense, you may have a lot of sort of, what is that expression? Pots on the boil, a lot of things. Like you're a juggler, you're someone that is very able to do many things at once, and you probably have, there's such a strong Gemini vibe here, really, that there's this sort of, you're very, very interested in things, in life. You have a lot of passion, there's a lot that you want to do, and you also have the energy to pursue those things. Sometimes this can be a bit overwhelming for you, pile 2. You may at times have so many ideas and be so buzzing with a sense of possibility that you sort of, I don't get the sense of apathy that you then, because the 7 of Cups can be a bit like that you're so overwhelmed with the options that you're just sort of frozen. I don't get that sense. I think that you actually are very able to do many things. You may be multi-talented. You may know a lot of people. You may be very well connected, and a lot of people may really like you. I have this sense that you've tried your hand at different things. I keep trying to find this expression, hands in pot. There's something, you guys probably know what I'm trying to say. The things that you do well. You do a lot of things well, pile 2, and I think people envy that. You may be a very good teacher. That may be, some of you may do things like that, teach classes, workshops. You may have a lot of knowledge, but you are very able, I mean, the orange here, that sacral energy is coming through also in this card. You may be somebody that is very comfortable with their body, pile 2, and I think that's something that people find very alluring, interesting about you, is that whatever your physical insecurities are, and we all have them, you give off a vibe of being quite comfortable with yourself, with your sexuality, and of course a lot of people are drawn to that. A lot of people may be very sort of sexually attracted to you, pile 2, but I think also a lot of, not everybody feels that way about themselves, and I think there may be some people that sort of look at you and think, God, I wish I felt the way that he or she felt about him or herself. I would love to feel as free and open and sexual as Pile 2 seems to feel. You may of course not actually feel that, Pile 2. This is all about other people being drawn to you and other people's feelings about you. So, you know, this is not necessarily about being even flirty. You may be a little flirty at times, but other people perceive you, I think, as being quite just open and very comfortable with who you are, and I think a lot of people would love to feel more of that themselves, Pile 2. So I think dancing is something that just came through to me too. You may be an excellent dancer, you may have great rhythm, you may be someone that just knows how to have a good time. People are happy to cross your path for sure on a dance floor. I think that warmth, or the sacral warmth, is very vivid here for me, Pile 2. Yeah, I think you're probably a great drinking buddy. Yeah, that dancing, let me just have another look at this card. Yeah, I mean, the sacral, of course, is a very sexual, it is all about our sexuality and our comfort with our body, and I think, you know, you may not have always felt that way, Pile 2, you may not feel that way now, but I think it may be something that you've learned to become more comfortable and connected to your body, and to use your body. That may be you know, in the most positive sense, that may be a part of your creativity. You may be a dancer, you may be an athlete, you may be a performance artist, an actor, something about your body here, about you may just be very active, very yoga or things like that. You need to feel very connected to your body, to feel alive and connected to yourself, and I think a lot of people really admire your body, your movements, and I think it may be very aspirational for others, and it has nothing to do with size and shape. There's nothing to do with that. It's all about a vibe you're giving off, so you could be any shape or size. It's all about the way that you are using your body. Okay, so now we have some real green here with the maze. Yeah, I mean, as I said, Pile 2, you may be somebody that knows quite a lot of people. You may be somebody that in a group of people are very curious to get to know more, to get to where you are. I mean, if you look at, I mean, the maze is all about finding that kind of the center, right? Some people may feel that they do have to sort of climb hurdles to reach you, that you may feel a little bit untouchable at times, a little bit unreachable, because I think you are quite popular, Pile 2. Yeah, I think perhaps I do get the sense that if there are people that have been close to you in the past, that have perhaps fallen away. I mean, this has happened a lot during the pandemic, the people that were closer friends, there's been a lot of distance between people. People may at times just find there's an aura of busyness around you, Pile 2. So like I said, it does seem that you do a lot, and a lot interests you, that people don't always feel that they can reach you, that want to reach you. Maybe you're not always the best, Pile 2, at returning texts and things like that, but I don't think that this is I just have the sense that a lot of people, it's as if this sparkiness, this golden sacral energy, the warmth of you, people want that, and I think sometimes if they've been sort of relegated, trying to get back there can be a bit challenging. You may be someone that if you've set a boundary, or you've moved on from something, if you've decided to kind of let go of a friendship, a relationship of some kind, it may be very sort of hard. There may be once a line has been crossed for you, that you're very good at boundaries. Pile 2, it may be that it's very hard to get you back once somebody has lost you. But I would say a note on that is that to be sure, to be careful, pal, too, that you do really want to let go of things before you go ahead and let them go. I think sometimes there's a real kind of energetic, forward thinking energy around you, and that, you know, I just want to try to express what I want to say here, that be careful, Paul, too, that you don't sort of, perhaps in a moment of distraction, let go of things that you may want back. That is what is coming through to me here. Again, my god, this deck, it's so gorgeous. 10 of Lotuses. I believe this is the 10 of Cups in the traditional deck, which is an incredibly joyful card. More warmth, more celebratory energy. You may have a very close family, pile 2, and that may bring a lot of joy. There may be that, it may be that behind the scenes you do have a bit of a more brooding or darker or introverted side. You may not want to share that always with people. I think a lot of people don't realize the struggles that you have faced, Paul, too. I'm looking at these mountains. There's these gorgeous flowers here, blooming flowers in the foreground, and I think that is people's perception of you, blooming, alive, colourful, vibrant. So they're not perhaps seeing the challenges that you've been through, they're not perhaps seeing what you've been facing when you're home alone, you know, out of that sort of the glow that they see of you socially. I think you take things in your stride, pile 2, but if you look closely at this card, you'll see behind these mountains, this dark area, there's this real blast of light, this sunlight. I think if you're still, if there is something that you're struggling with, and if there's something that you're still trying to overcome, know that there is this dawn, there's this light on the other side of it, and it's already visible. I think these mountains, these obstacles and challenges will only add to your vibrancy, and there will be a lot of gifts that will come of whatever it is that you have had to face, Paul, too, which I think you've done with quite a lot of good humour and spiritedness. And people may not always realise just what you've had to face. So this 7 of Cups, again, has shown up twice here for you, Paul, too. Interesting scarab, beetle. I think the people on this card are very confused, although the female character here is considerably less so. I think there may be somebody in your life, pal, too, that you have left behind. I was picking that up with this card. Relationships, they may be romantic, they may be friendships. They may have been very deeply rooted and very sort of substantial relationships. I'm diverting a little bit from our central question about why people are drawn to you, Paul, too, because I think there is a message here about potentially a relationship. It may be a romantic relationship, or it could be a family member, but there's some substantial bond with someone that perhaps you have let go, and this person is in quite a bit of confusion about why, about, you know, I think perhaps just seeking closure. This person is seeking closure from you, and it may be that you're distracted, it may be that there's just so much, it may be that you don't know that this person feels that way, Pal, too, because there's just so much around you, there's so much going on here. I do have a sense that there is somebody that would really like to speak to you, and somebody that is looking for closure. So if that resonates with you, Pal, too, yeah, yeah, this person may be more affected than you know about perhaps an ending here. There may have been quite a lot of time invested in this relationship. Again, I'm getting a real sense of something being long-standing and well-established. So for you, this may have been final, it may have been clear. I think for the other person, it quite likely isn't clear. I mean, we have the Ten of Pentacles and the Ten of Lotuses, so these are two very cards of culmination, both emotionally and materially, a kind of crescendo. You know, it's where your numbers come up. I think you are really on the road to success, Paul, too. Whatever it is that you're doing, you know, it may be very lucrative. It may be, you know, whether that things have materialized yet or not, there is this huge potential, and there's a real it factor, I think I'm getting here for you, in terms of people being drawn to you. I think people want to know, sort of want to get on, you know, where you're going, Paul, too, because I think there's a sense about, like, whether you've achieved a lot in your life yet or not. I think there's a sense, an aura, a vibe that you're giving off that you will, and that you're very capable of achieving a lot. And this is, you know, I think people may look at you and think this person is going places, and I'm very curious to know where they're going and what it is that they're going to end up doing. I do think this coming up as a bit of a warning, looking at these hands, there may be people around you that, again, yes, do want a little bit of what you have to go where you're going. Opportunities may appear, pile 2, that are maybe not always, I think discernment is something I'm getting, in terms of being careful about what opportunities that you take if you are someone that has that it factor, of people wanting to have a piece of you, because you can't give everything all they want all the time. You can't give everyone a piece of yourself all the time. You have to be careful with your own energy, and you perhaps shouldn't trust everybody that wants to be close to you. Opportunities, I think, are going to be coming your way, certainly over the next year, pile 2, and I think exercise discernment and caution in terms of which opportunities you think are right for you, and I think be aware of perhaps people being opportunistic around you, and perhaps wanting to be close to you based more on what they think that they can get from you, or how helpful it is to you may come across as someone that would be helpful to know, a good person to have as a contact. You may start attracting more and more people like that, and I think I just have a real sense, this glow, this star power, too, that things are going to be, the speed of things is going to be increasing for you in the near future, and many more opportunities may be coming your way, and that will bring quite a lot of abundance and pleasure. And like I said, look at the sunrise over these mountains. There's a lot on the horizon for you, pile 2, in terms of blessings. So yeah, you seem like somebody that would be a lovely person to have show up in one's life. So thank you so much for joining me, Paul, too. It's been a pleasure to read for you, and if this resonated, do let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. Yeah, do like and subscribe, all of those things. But thank you, Paul, too, and I'll see you soon. Hello, pile 3. You chose the Labradorite. Thank you so much for joining me today. And we are going to ask, why are people drawn to you? What do people find alluring and attractive about you? So let's see, pile 3, which cards you got. Okay, we have the snake, the hare, the 9 of Pentacles, the Ace of Birds. I believe in this deck that is the Ace of Swords, the 8 of Birds, or wands. Wands, I will check. Wands, okay. This is a new deck for me, which I love. It's called Cosma Visions, but the imagery here is just gorgeous. We have Matt, I haven't seen this one before, and the Dreamer of Swords, gorgeous. Okay. So, pile 3. Why are people drawn to you? Well, the snake, of course. I know some people have funny feelings about snakes. Personally, I don't. I think the snake is a very, very spiritual symbol and emblem, of course, of kind of, you know, regeneration and metamorphosis and things like that. But I mean, as you can see on the card here, Kundalini rising, I think you may be a highly spiritual person, pile 3, very, very in tune. I strongly have the sense that you are, you know, the Eastern religions are really coming across quite strongly. So Hinduism and Buddhism, you may, you know, identify with those religions very closely. You may be very knowledgeable about them. You may be on a very spiritual path, more than the average person, perhaps more than the average person that watches videos like this on YouTube. I think you, pile 3, are very, very disciplined and very focused on your spiritual evolution. So I admire that in you, pile 3, and I think many people do also admire this about you and look to you for guidance, for wisdom. You may be someone, you may teach meditation, you may teach yoga, you may teach whatever it is you know, and I think you know a lot, pile 3. You sharing that is hugely important to you and hugely important to your identity. Spreading what you know, having other people understand what you know, and I think I'm getting, yeah, I think you're an excellent teacher. Look, it may not be that you are someone that's actually teaching as a job or voluntarily, whatever it is, but when people are around you, when people are around you, I think they feel as if they learn a lot. They learn a lot in a spiritual sense. It may be subtle. I don't think that you're the preachy type, pile 3. But people, after spending time with you, may walk away feeling like something has clicked for them, that they have gained new insights into themselves, they gain knowledge, and this is a gift, and people may experience you that way. They know after spending time with you, they will walk away, if they've had dinner with you, if they've met you just briefly, that they will walk away looking at life just in a slightly different way, pile 3. So I think you have a very good nature, and I think people perceive this too, that you are compassionate and non-judgmental. People can tell you things that they do not necessarily tell others, because they know that you have and are very committed to this kind of compassion, to compassion as a way of life, to self-betterment. They know that you're not going to be petty, and then you're not going to make snap judgments, you're not going to gossip, things like that. So people feel safe with you. They feel safe to be who they really are, and if they're struggling and if they're troubled by something, you are somebody that people feel comfortable with sharing themselves with. So that's a very special thing. Pile 3, I think you're very in tune with your senses too. Some of you may be musicians, chefs too, that just very sensory. It's very Taurian vibe I'm getting. Very in tune with things like colours and taste and sound. All of these things are extremely important to you, and you may be very sensitive to your environment and very selective about which kind of spaces you put yourself in. And people may be very aware of that. They know that they're not going to encounter you at any old sort of party, that you're not one to show up everywhere, that you're very protective of your energy and what you give to others. So to see you as sort of a treat, I think, pile 3, because I don't get the sense that you're really very closed or introverted. I think you do spend quite a lot of time with other people, but in terms of just typical social situations in which you're very selective about how you use your energy. I think a lot of you may not be drinking, that's the sense I'm getting, so a lot of typical ways people socialize are maybe just not up your street, Pile 3. But I do get the sense that you are around people quite a lot. So again, it may be teaching, maybe communities that you're a part of, spiritual volunteer work I'm getting. Again, and I think you do want, you're very interested in people, and you do want to have an exchange and really see beyond the superficial with people. You do. I don't get a sort of intense or intimidating feeling from you at all, Pile 3. In fact, I think you're very engaged with everyone that you're speaking to, and I think it's very important to you that you engage with everyone equally. You're very, again, this real sense of you're non-judgmental, that you don't discriminate. You're very committed to being non-biased in a very Aquarian way. You want to know people, and you want to, and you're very interested in, I think people feel that you are genuinely interested in them when you're speaking to them, whoever it is. Whether it's the quiet person in the corner, whoever it is, you treat everybody with the same level of care and attention, and I think people really respect that about you, Pile 3. So the hair, of course, is a very, I mean, the hare and the rabbit are symbols typically of femininity, fertility. So there is a very maternal vibe that you give off, Pile 3. Whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. There's something very nurturing, very caring, very typically feminine. So I think, you know, feminine, masculine qualities are sort of, I think, distributed in all of us, regardless of our biological gender. But you, Pile 3, have a very almost extremely sort of warm and protective and safe feeling to you. Again, I think people feel like they can tell you things that they can't otherwise tell people. I think you feel very soft, very safe. And this is something you've cultivated, I think, Pile 3. You may not have always been this way. You may not have always been such a people person. I do have the sense that you've taken quite a committed and disciplined road towards becoming the sort of person that you wanted to be. And I think for many of you that involves some kind of spiritual path. So whatever you've invested in and committed, what you've chosen to cultivate in yourself is really, really apparent. You have succeeded in that. People really feel this very caring, non-judgmental, non-discriminatory, just very loving energy from you. Yeah, I have the sense a lot of you weren't always like this. You may in the past, you may have been through a lot in your past. Some of you, just got a flash of, some of you may have been through a lot in the past. Some of you may have had some very difficult early life experiences. That I had a flash of some of you have maybe have lived on the streets certain periods of time. You have overcome a lot. You have faced a lot of your shadows, your dark side. You have lived a life. You know, for some of you that may be more than others. But I do get a strong sense that you've really fought a lot of battles, Pile 3. You've seen a lot of the dark side of life, and I think this is why you are so non-judgmental. You know how hard life can be, you know how easy it is. Sorry for the sirens, don't know if you can hear that, Pile 3, I'll just wait a second. See if I can recapture my thought. You know how easy it is to fall through the cracks in life, Pile 3. You may have found yourself on certain precipices of losing a lot. You may have seen a lot of the dark side of life. I'm getting, if it wasn't you in that situation, then you may have done a lot of volunteer work. You may have seen just the real kind of darker underbelly of life. You have perspective, Pile 3, and I think people sense that, people know it, people really, really respect it about you. You know how hard life can be for some people, and you show up for people. You don't criticize. You may want to at times, but I don't think that I think you genuinely have compassion, and you genuinely understand. Look, when people behave badly, it's quite likely that they have been on the receiving end of some really tough stuff. People don't just show up in life behaving like dickheads, you know. It doesn't mean that you're a pushover, it doesn't mean you let people walk over you, it doesn't mean that you let people get away with things. You get it, you understand. Life is complicated and people can have a really tough ride. You look out for the underdog, and I think these underdogs, whoever they are out there, they do appreciate this. You may not always feel that way, you may not feel it every time, but I think on some level, in a deeper sense, they truly do, people truly do see your compassion and truly do value it. So if that's a question you have, Pile 3, I think some of you may feel underappreciated at times if people don't value it. Maybe they don't in the moment. Maybe some people don't appreciate just what a kind of exceptional person you are and how empathetic you are in the moment. But there may be many cases in which you have invested time in something and it really will pay off. You may not be around to see it, what you've given to others. However, I do think, if this is a question, I think for some of you watching perhaps, about whether people really do value the time you give them, the care, the compassion. If they don't now, they will. They will, Pile 3. One day, they will. Nothing is wasted on whoever you're giving your time to. So the Nine of Pentacles, why are people drawn to you? Well, Pile 3, you are very composed, you are very self-reliant. I think you've been this way for a long time. You may not have had a leg up in life the way other people may have, but you have fought your way to where you are, and it has made you very strong, very capable, and I think people admire, sometimes envy, and very much appreciate how much it feels like you are sort of complete. There's a sense about you that you perhaps don't need from you're not someone that takes from others. You come across as having everything that you need, Pile 3. You've cultivated things in yourself, and I think, again, people may ask you for advice a lot. People may want to know what worked for you, and I think you've tried a lot of things, and you do have a lot of spiritual knowledge, as I said at the beginning. I think at a certain point along the line, Pile 3, you really got it and understood that you can't fill yourself up from the outside. Things outside of you are never going to make you happy, what you achieve materially, and you really, really focused on yourself. You may still be in the process of figuring these things out. This is a general read, so some of you may be emerging into this energy, Pile 3, but I think at some point you have or will really truly understand this sense of, the inside job. You have to get on good terms with yourself. You have to kind of look within. You have to rely on those inner resources, and I think you really have developed those inner resources, and people can sense and see it, that you don't need them in the way some people give off the impression of wanting to be flattered or wanting there's just a sense that you are sort of, there's a sort of self-composure, and I'm trying to find it like on the tip of my tongue. I mean, classically the Nine of Pentacles characters is a sort of self-made woman. I don't have the sense that perhaps this is a material thing for you. Some of you may have more money, but yeah, that's the typical Nine of Pentacles thing. That the sort of independent person that's pretty good to go by themselves. For you, I'm seeing it as a much more emotional, spiritual, sort of, you have cultivated your inner resources and you are good, or you are on the path to being, Pile 3, you're getting there, for sure. And this is something that, again, it may be a discipline, is that you're not seeking outward approval, you're not seeking the answers from anyone but yourself. Again, yeah, this may be something that you've started to do, and you have to remind yourself constantly, Pile 3, that this is what I'm doing. Again, I'm really getting this strong vibe that many of you that are watching this, Pile 3, many of you pick this pile really, really have been through a lot of early life challenges, and you have learned the hard way. And this is a commitment that you've made or will be making, or in that process, that you are going to rely on your own sense of what is real, on your own sense of what is true and valuable. It doesn't mean that you don't need friends, lovers, whatever it is, that to have something to contribute to your life. It's just that you're not looking for those things and people to complete you. I think it's very admirable, and I think people really sense and know this about you and want to emulate that, pile 3, because it's a very, very attractive quality. You are inspiring, pile 3, and I think you've inspired many people to sort of live a similar life, a maybe more compassionate life. I'm getting this sense that I think you are a very warm person, pile 3, and it's the snowman here. It's not, I don't know that it is a snowman, but that's what I'm seeing. Like this beaked creature that's sort of in the ice. I think you have more of an impression on people, your warmth. Again, I have the sense that you question whether this warmth is valued. There may be people around you that are quite stern, or they're quite closed off, they're quite they just don't subscribe to the way, the things that you do. They just don't operate in the way that you do. I have the sense that some of you in this pile is just sort of, you're kind of, we all are, we're all forced to be around people at times that we would rather not be, or that don't share our values, that we don't necessarily like so much. But I think you treat everybody with the same amount of love, compassion, care. And you're wondering at times whether that is valued, and I think there may be people in your orbit that, I want to say, a little stern, a little cold. I do think that you have more effect on these people, pile 3, than you might realize. I think you know all too well, pile 3, that life can give you lemons, and there are different factors in why some people may triumph more quickly or easily over adversity than others, and some people may just fall behind. Some people may become very closed off. Like, you understand this, pile 3. You fully embody that knowing. So when you are faced with people that do come across as if they're not that compassionate, they're not that caring in the way that you are, sorry, my battery is being weird. You question at times whether, of course it affects you, it affects anyone if we're warm and we're smiley and the other person is pretty stony faced. I think you have more of an effect on people than you know, when it comes to the warmth and the softness that you are choosing. You are choosing to live by certain principles. Yeah. I'm curious. Leave me a comment in the description box down below. Not in the description box, sorry, the comment box. If that's resonating with you. Yeah, the 8 of Birds. I think if you haven't already, I was picking up for you, pile 3, this teaching vibe, or sorry about the siren, a community vibe. If you look at these birds flocking, I know there's a tornado here, but that's not what's jumping out for me. You may have followers in your life, and I don't mean in the social media sense so much, but people that are very curious about what you have to say and what you're doing and the way you're living. And I think there's perhaps, if this isn't already evidently the case, there's a lot of potential to build on that, to have a lot of effect on other people. I think there's a lot of people out there that could really, really benefit from your guidance and know it. Like I said, I have the impression here that some of you are in different stages of evolution in this group, but that some of you may just be setting out on a different path of kind of a sort of spiritual path. Others of you may be years along in that line and be highly knowledgeable. If you're not someone that already has this sort of a kind of following, or people that are very curious to, I think people know that you are someone that can help them improve themselves, pile 3. If you are just starting out on a certain pathway, know that that potential is there. Know that you have a lot to give, Pole 3, and that other people can really, really, if you have had a more challenging life story, know that there's a lot of, and if you're still in the midst of sort of really healing from that, really overcoming it, know that there's that potential there, Pole 3, for you to be a huge kind of guiding life in the lives of others, guiding light, that have gone through similar things. And I think that may end up being, if it isn't already, a huge calling for you. I'm not sure what card, I think this may be the Hierophant card in the traditional deck, but something is coming through for me about whether potentially a female family member, they may be deceased, that there may be somebody that you sort of lost in your life that wasn't perhaps on the best terms, whether that person is still living or not. I get the sense that there is somebody in your life that is really looking for forgiveness, and perhaps doesn't know how to ask for it. They may have fallen out of your life, you may have long lost touch with them. But I think there is someone that perhaps is privately struggling with perhaps their own behavior, perhaps the way they treated you, that would, perhaps contemplates sort of whether it's even okay to really ask for that forgiveness. For some of you, I think there is somebody that is perhaps no longer living that you are struggling to forgive. Yeah, that you're struggling to forgive, and that may be a real thorn in your side, Pile 3. Somebody that perhaps, for a lot of you, I'm getting there's a mother figure that perhaps maybe didn't show up for you in the way that they should have, and that's a struggle for you, I think, Pile 3. Somebody, it may be a part of, I do strongly think that some of you, of course not all of you, but there is a sort of deceased mother figure or a maternal sort of person that perhaps maybe wasn't able to give what you needed and deserved, Pile 3, and that's part of this adversity that you have sort of triumphed over. I think if that person is no longer with us, finding time and the space within yourself to find peace with that, may be an important part of you moving to the next stage of your evolution. It may affect you more than you know. It may be something that you think that you're, oh, I'm done with that, I'm over that, that's not something that's bothering me anymore, but it's a heavy vibe I'm getting here from this card. If that's resonating with you, I think maybe some time to contemplate, to take it into meditation, if meditation is part of your life. For some of you, it may be somebody that is more in your physical presence, and you may not be aware of them. You may not even be aware of a kind of a falling out or a kind of a split here. Maybe somebody in your life that is just sort of perhaps feels that they have wronged you, that is coming through. So yeah, it could be different things for different people, Pile 3. So Dreamer of Swords, gorgeous. Again, there's a real mother vibe here, with a very sort of fertility, and with this kind of big half moon. I think you're very connected to nature, Pile 3. You may meet a lot of people in a natural setting. It's very Neptunian connection to water here for a lot of you. I do think some of you are in need of a break at the moment. I would say if you can get to water or just to somewhere out in nature somewhere where you can just sort of be connected to those rhythms, to green, to the earth, to the clouds, just to have open sky. I think that may be something that you really need, pile 3, to replenish. I think there's a part of you that really comes alive in a different way. Some of you may be very knowledgeable about things like ecology and sort of caring for plants. And I think some of you may be very invested in that, activists, environmentalists, and I think this may be a side of you, because you do have very soft energy, pile 3, but I mean, look at this person, this card, it's a very kind of warrior-like energy, and I do think that you have that too when it comes to the causes that you care about. And there may be many that you support. You are able to activate this warrior energy. And I think people really respect that, I think, in certain situations. And this may not be a side of yourself that you show very much. People are a little intimidated. There's a little bit of a kind of mother bear energy that is directed towards the things that you care about. I do think a lot of you do voluntary work. There are different things that are coming through my mind. Environmental activism. Some of you may be really invested in things like supporting refugees and asylum seekers, things like that are coming through, and this is where you channel a lot of anger, I think, but in the most beautiful way. That may be also something that you have cultivated in yourself or are in the process of, is challenging a sense of betrayal around your past into basically fighting for the vulnerable, and I think that is extremely admirable quality, pile 3. I mean, hats off to you if this is you, that you understand anger, that anger isn't something you just sort of collapse under, that you let kind of overwhelm you and dictate your behavior, but it's something that can be, it can be channeled in the most brilliant kind of creative and kind of life-giving ways. And I think some of you maybe do have a bit of a temper and that could be surprising to people, but this passion and this spark, the way that you're able to manage that and is something people really respect about you, and sort of perhaps wish they could be more like, is that none of us are perfect, and emotions are emotions, and some of those emotions are easier than others to handle, but you have a kind of you have found a way, or are finding ways, pile 3, to really master some of these kind of more base emotions, fear and anger and all of that. And I really do see this is directed towards higher goals and very altruistic goals. If this is you, I mean, amazing. We need more people in the world like you, pile 3, so I'm very happy to read for you today, and I really hope this resonated with some of you. If it did, do let me know. Give me a like and a little comment. But thanks for stopping by, pile 3, and I'll see you again soon.